dollars. Now, part of this is, and this is going to be interesting because $1 million or over $1 million sound a lot better 6 weeks ago before the emergence of Project B and actual WNBA players signing with Project B for what has already been, it's already been revealed, a minimum of $2 million. And I can tell you right now, Gumake, Alyssa Thomas, and John.
The WNBA has presented a substantial compensation package to its players that represents a significant upgrade from previous proposals. This latest offer marks a considerable jump from earlier discussions that were already approaching 4 times current pay levels. Initial reports had suggested maximum contracts around $1 million annually, with some estimates placing it closer to $850,000. The league has now raised the stakes considerably. The updated proposal officially crosses the $1 million threshold for top-tier contracts. The timing of this announcement carries particular weight given recent developments.
Alyssa Thomas and Jonquel Jones got more than $2 million. I can't wait till those salaries actually emerge because it's going to be a big deal. And the thing about it is, these WNBA players already know what those salaries are going to be because they're being offered them right now. The WNBA's latest collective bargaining agreement proposal to players includes a max salary exceeding
What seemed impressive several weeks ago takes on different context following the launch of Project B and the signing of current WNBA athletes to that competing league. Reports indicate Project B is guaranteeing at least $2 million minimum contracts. Players like Rickea Jackson, Alyssa Thomas, and Jonquel Jones are believed to have secured compensation exceeding that baseline amount. When those exact figures become public knowledge, they will likely create waves throughout the basketball world. Current WNBA athletes are already aware of what Project B is offering since those proposals are actively being extended, according to sources familiar with the negotiation process. As reported to Front Office Sports and initially covered by the Associated Press, the league's most recent collective bargaining agreement submission features maximum annual compensation surpassing $1.1 million.
Salary exceeding $1 million. A source with direct knowledge of negotiations confirmed to Front Office Sports. The Associated Press was first to report the league's latest proposal. The proposal presented this week includes a salary range starting at more than $220,000. So that's going to be their league minimum now. Their league minimum going up to $1.1.
The proposal establishes a compensation structure beginning at more than $220,000 as the base salary level. This represents the new floor for league earnings. The ceiling reaches $1.1 million for maximum contracts. The increase amounts to an additional $100,000. Depending on which earlier reports prove accurate, whether the $850,000 figure or the $1 million estimate, the league has added between $100,000 and $250,000 to maximum compensation. Average player earnings would exceed $460,000 under this framework.
Minimum going up to $1.1 million for the max. Look, that's a big deal. That's an extra $100,000. And if you, depending on which report you believe prior, let me just do some quick math. Minus, carry the 12. They've come up, if you believe the $850,000 Supermax deal report.
For context, this surpasses Unrivaled's compensation by approximately $200,000 annually, nearly doubling their reported payment structure of around $250,000. These figures apply to the initial year of the agreement and are designed to escalate throughout the duration of the collective bargaining agreement. The enhanced proposal emerged after discussions between league officials and the WNBPA became heated, with public criticism exchanged by both parties last month. Subsequently, they agreed to a 30-day extension. The current CBA was scheduled to expire October 31, but the deadline has been moved to November 30. Enhanced salaries and an improved revenue distribution model have been the primary contentious issues during negotiations.
Report then they've added $250,000 onto that. If you believe the $1 million proposal, it's still an extra $100,000. The new league average would be more than $460,000. And by the way, that's officially $200,000 more a year than Unrivaled. I believe they're paying around $250,000, something like that. So, yeah. Well, it's...
When players opted out of the previous CBA last year, they submitted a comprehensive list of demands. These included better benefits packages, official charter flight arrangements, standardized operational requirements across all franchises, more flexible salary cap restrictions, and expanded roster sizes. Discussions continue to take place. According to sources speaking with Front Office Sports, the league cannot establish schedules and regulations for an expansion draft involving the two newest franchises, the Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire, until a CBA receives final approval. The Portland Fire name has been particularly well received. The previous round of labor discussions in 2019 required a 60-day extension before a new CBA was finalized early the following year, just ahead of free agency.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's almost twice as much. It's 200,000 more anyway. These salaries are in the first year and would grow over the course of the CBA. The new proposal comes after negotiations between the league and the WNBPA reached contentious points, with both sides exchanging public barbs last month before agreeing to a 30-day extension.
The current proposal follows announcements that startup league Project B is providing players with multi-million-dollar contracts. The new organization, operating from November through April, will not directly conflict with the WNBA schedule. However, multiple sources have indicated that players might choose to bypass the WNBA season entirely if negotiations prove unsatisfactory. Recent confirmations indicate that Jewell Loyd has officially joined Project B. Jewell Loyd, Jonquil Jones, Alyssa Thomas, and Rickea Jackson are now confirmed participants in Project B. The players sought substantial salary increases, and this proposal delivers growth of some type.
The extension. The CBA is set to expire October 31, but the extension was pushed to November 30. While increased salaries and improved revenue sharing model have been the two main sticking points in negotiation, the players presented a list of priorities when they opted out of the CBA last year. Among those were improved benefits, the formalization of charter travel, establishing baseline standards of operation for every franchise.
While the specific escalation mechanism has not been disclosed, compensation will increase progressively as seasons advance. One suggested approach would be to agree on current figures and return to negotiations in 3 years, allowing for assessment of league expansion and development. Some ownership groups are likely considering contingencies, such as potential impacts if Caitlin Clark were to suffer another injury. Viewership data showed reasonable engagement during her absence. Fans continued watching Fever games while Clark was sidelined, though interest patterns shifted once it became clear she would not return that season. Audiences remained invested in the league overall under the assumption she would resume playing.
Establishing baseline standards of operation for every franchise, a softer salary cap, and roster expansion. The meetings are ongoing, a source told Front Office Sports. The league can't set dates and rules for an expansion draft for the two newest expansion teams, the Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire, until a CBA is ratified. I actually like that name a lot, Portland Fire. Fire. The last round of...
Both the WNBA and the Indiana Fever were aware of this dynamic when making decisions. The proposed average salary of $460,000 represents substantial compensation. After accounting for taxation, this translates to approximately $20,000 monthly income. Managing finances responsibly at this level should allow for comfortable living standards. Some commentary suggesting players like A'ja Wilson deserve $10 million annually fails to recognize economic realities. Such compensation levels would likely force the league to cease operations entirely.
Because I remember when Breanna Stewart was talking about Unrivaled and they were offering people $250,000 a year. Like, they were like, as the average salary. That is the minimum salary. By the way, the average unrivaled salary is now the minimum WNBA salary. The minimum WNBA salary is double the average unrivaled salary. That is massive. That is absolutely massive. Like, people don't understand just how much money these players are getting paid.
If players genuinely expect that magnitude of payment from the WNBA, they may be disappointed the organization does not generate sufficient revenue to support those figures. The WNBA has presented a fresh collective bargaining agreement proposal that represents a significant financial milestone. If this particular package fails to satisfy players, serious questions arise about their genuine intentions regarding reaching any agreement. The organization has reached a critical juncture where negotiations should be nearing completion. While players retain the right to decline any terms presented, the current proposal demands serious consideration given its substantial financial commitments. The numbers tell a remarkable story.
People genuinely are saying the base salary for Project B is $2 million. That's the benchmark. And I'm like, one, Project B is going to lose money for like an infinite amount of years. Like, they are going to lose money probably not for its entirety. They're going to lose money for at least 3 or 4 years, and they're willing to accept the losses. The WNBA are not willing to eat any more losses because they've lost money for 30 years. There's a big difference there. 2, Project B only has 66 players.
When Breanna Stewart previously discussed Unrivaled's compensation structure, she mentioned they were offering approximately $250,000 as their typical player payment. That figure has now become the floor for WNBA compensation. The lowest WNBA payment now stands at double what Unrivaled pays on average. This shift represents an enormous leap in women's basketball economics that many observers fail to fully grasp. Commentary surrounding Project B frequently cites a $2 million baseline figure as the standard to match. However, this comparison lacks crucial context.
Difference there. 2, Project B only has 66 players. The WNBA has 200. And 3, the Project B gets every bit of the revenue, so if it does succeed, they don't lose 58% of the revenue. The owner, they don't lose 58%. And thirdly, again, there's only 66 spots in Project B. So now but $2 million is not the base salary. $2 million is NECA's salary. It's the base salary for your John Wells, for your NECAs, who are going to be.
Project B operates under completely different financial assumptions, accepting substantial losses for an extended period, potentially 3 to 4 years minimum. The WNBA, having sustained financial losses across 3 decades, cannot continue absorbing deficits indefinitely. This fundamental difference shapes their respective approaches to compensation. Additional structural differences matter significantly. Project B accommodates merely 66 athletes, while the WNBA supports 200. Furthermore, Project B retains complete revenue control, avoiding the 58% revenue loss that constrains the WNBA.
The base salary for your John Wells, for your NECAs, who are going to be making $1 million in the WNBA. It's not the base salary for random player number 73. You're not going to be seeing, let's just say Maisha Hines-Allen plays in Project B. She's not making $1 million. She's probably making more money in the WNBA than Project B, just like the vast majority of people are. Just like every single player is going to be making more money in the WNBA than Unrivaled. But obviously, 1.1 million max, 220 minimum, and an average income.
The $2 million figure often cited doesn't represent a baseline payment for all participants. It reflects compensation for elite talents like Nafisa Collier and Jewel Lloyd, who would command roughly $1 million in the WNBA. Mid-tier players in Project B would receive considerably less. Someone like Maisha Hines-Allen would likely earn more through the WNBA than Project B, mirroring the reality for most athletes. Every WNBA player stands to earn more than their unrivaled counterparts. The proposed terms establish a $1.1 million ceiling, $220,000 floor, and $460,000 median compensation. This creates the most lucrative salary-controlled women's professional sports competition in history.
An average income of $460,000. This is the highest paid women's sports league ever. Sorry, this is the highest paid salary capped women's sports league ever. Because obviously, we're seeing it with the Trinity Rodman situation. The NWSL salary cap has fucked it. They can only offer 300 grand. And teams in England are like, yeah, we'll give you $1 million a year. We don't have a salary cap. We'll give you $1 million a year. We don't care. And that's what the thing is. I was like, if the players really want to get paid, abolishing the salary cap is the only real.
The NWSL situation with Trinity Rodman illustrates this distinction. Their cap restricts offers to roughly $300,000, while European clubs without such limitations freely offer $1 million annually. Eliminating salary restrictions would allow athletes to earn their actual market value, determined by what individual franchises deem appropriate rather than predetermined percentage allocations. Recent reporting from Associated Press sources indicates the proposal aims to expedite resolution of protracted negotiations. Relationships between leadership and players have experienced tension, with limited private discussions between Commissioner Engelbert and player representatives. Coach Becky Hammon noted that players themselves triggered the opt-out clause in the previous agreement.
Abolishing the salary cap is the only real way to get players paid what they're worth. Because if there's no salary cap, then you literally get paid what you are worth for that specific team. A specific team puts a monetary value on you, and it's not based on a percentage of a salary cap. You're worth whatever the fuck they think you're worth. Whatever the owner deems you to be worth, that's what you're worth. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing to look at here as well, because now you've got this here, a rough patch to the CBA.
The new proposal reportedly includes revenue-sharing provisions, though achieving the revenue percentage players desire presents significant challenges. Players reportedly seek revenue distribution comparable to NBA standards, which approaches 50%. However, ownership structure complicates this aspiration. As Commissioner Engelbert acknowledged, players control only 42% of league equity. Convincing NBA franchise owners to surrender additional equity or revenue proves extraordinarily difficult.
You've got this here, a rough patch to the CBA deal. According to AP sources, the latest proposal is designed to bring negotiations to a quick conclusion. They've been clashing. Only had a few private conversations with Kathy and me, private conversations with players, or lack of conversations led to some rocky relationship between the players. Becky Hammon said the players opted out of CBA. But like 1.1 million, and apparently they have revenue share. The one thing is that they're not going to get the revenue share percentage they want. That is just not feasible. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, like they literally, I think they want a...
These owners, including figures like James Dolan and Vivek Ranadive, don't prioritize franchise valuation increases as motivation for financial concessions. Even if all 17 WNBA franchise owners unanimously supported increased revenue sharing, NBA ownership approval remains necessary. Historical perspective matters here. 16 months ago, Breanna Stewart expressed hope that maximum contracts might eventually reach $1 million, a goal that seemed aspirational at the time. Now that figure represents reality, yet some characterize it as insufficient.
Wondering what I mean by that. Like they literally, I think they want a similar revenue split to the NBA. And they don't have 50%. Like even like Fees even said as much when she was like, "Oh, it's a little bit different talking about us because we only own 42% of our league." Like you're not going to convince the NBA owners to give up equity, to give up any money. Like they don't own the franchises, because everyone's saying, "Oh, the franchise value go up." The franchise value is going up.
Fans demanding the WNBA exceed Project B's compensation ignore fundamental operational differences. The WNBA operates as a traditional salary-capped American sports organization, not a venture capital-funded experiment. Salary caps inherently create economic tensions. Without the deepest financial resources which the WNBA lacks, particularly compared to international ownership models, American sports leagues face constraints. International football demonstrates this divide, where Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds and technology billionaires deploy resources American owners typically won't.